All right, so we're diving into a career that really makes you think about uh, life and death and all that comes with it.
It really does. It's embalming.
Embalming,
Yeah.
not a light topic.
No, not at all.
Right.
But so important, for families to have that sense of closure and peace.
Right, and it's a profession that requires a very specific skill set.
Absolutely. And that's why we've got this awesome set of resources from RoleCatcher to help us unpack it all.
Yeah, their career guides, interview prep, even a glimpse into how their AI can help you stand out.
Yeah, so get ready because today we're going deep on acing that embalmer interview and maybe even getting discovered by employers along the way.
And the cool thing is these resources don't just focus on like getting you the job.
Hmm.
They really dig into what it takes to actually excel in this profession.
I love that. So let's jump right into the RoleCatcher interview guide. It's packed with these sample questions. It's like we're peeking right into the interviewer's mind.
Yeah.
First up, what inspired you to pursue a career in embalming? It's tempting, right, to go with the generic helping people.
Oh yeah, for sure. But the guide actually warns against that.
It makes sense, though, because, like, everyone says that they want to help people, right?
Yeah.
So this question is your chance to really show what makes you different.
So instead of like a canned response, what should people be thinking about?
Well, think about what really sparked your interest in this field. Was it a documentary you saw on ancient Egyptian burial practices?
Oh, interesting.
Or maybe you've always been fascinated by anatomy.
Yeah.
Or maybe you had a personal experience that really highlighted, like, the importance of respectful afterlife care.
Oh, wow.
Make it personal, make it memorable.
Make it real. Yeah.
Exactly.
And this is where I think RoleCatcher's AI can be so helpful because it can actually analyze a specific job description
Oh, that's cool.
and suggest ways to tailor your answers so you're not just sharing your passion, you're speaking their language,
That's so smart.
right? And highlighting even keywords that might catch the interviewer's eye.
Yeah, and don't forget about those follow-up questions.
Oh, yes, good point.
After you share your inspiration, you could ask something like, what qualities do you value most in your embalmers?
Oh, I like that.
That shows you're engaged and genuinely interested in their perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What are some of the primary responsibilities of an embalmer? This seems pretty straightforward, but the guide emphasizes going beyond just listing tasks.
Right. Anyone can rattle off a list, preparing the body, but it's about demonstrating that you have a deeper understanding.
So, like, what would be a better way to approach this one?
Instead of just saying preparing the body,
Yeah.
talk about the meticulous steps involved in preservation and restoration. Ensuring that the deceased appears as peaceful and natural as possible for their loved ones.
So it's about showcasing that knowledge and that why behind the task.
Exactly, and maybe even weaving in a bit of that empathy we talked about earlier.
Right, because it's not just a technical process.
No, it's not.
There's a human element to it, for sure.
Absolutely, and you could even add a follow-up question like, are there any specific techniques or approaches that are particularly important in this funeral home?
Ooh, I like that.
Shows you're eager to learn and adapt to their specific environment.
Okay, on to question 3. Describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a difficult embalming case. This one might feel tricky, especially for someone new to the field.
It is a tough one. But remember, problem-solving skills are valuable in any profession.
Yeah, for sure.
So don't be afraid to draw from experiences in other areas of your life. Did you ever have to think outside the box to fix a broken appliance?
Uh-huh.
Or find a creative solution to like a logistical challenge? Highlight those aha moments.
Where you overcame an obstacle.
Right, exactly.
So even if you haven't encountered a specific embalming challenge yet, you can still demonstrate that ability to think critically.
Absolutely. And to make it even more relevant, you can frame your response within the context of embalming.
Okay, I like that. So give us an example.
Let's say you had to repair a complex piece of equipment in a previous job.
Okay, you could reframe that experience by saying, well, I haven't encountered a specific embalming challenge, yet my experience in repairing intricate machinery has honed my problem-solving skills and attention to detail, which I believe are crucial in handling unforeseen circumstances during the embalming process.
Oh, that's a great way to bridge that gap.
Right.
Between your previous experience and the skills needed in this field.
Exactly.
And again, follow-up questions are key.
Always.
You could ask, what are some of the most common challenges embalmers face here? And what strategies do you use to address them?
That's a good one.
Shows you're already thinking ahead.
Right.
All right, moving on. What steps do you take to ensure the safety of yourself and others while working with chemicals? I mean, this one's crucial, right?
Absolutely crucial. It's not just about ticking boxes. It's about showcasing your commitment to a safe working environment.
Right. And the career guide provides a really solid foundation here,
It does.
listing common chemicals and tools used in embalming, like formaldehyde arterial tubes, embalming machines. Right. So when you're answering this question, don't just say, I wear gloves.
Right.
Go deeper. Discuss specific PPE like masks, gowns, eye protection. Talk about proper ventilation, safe handling, and disposal of chemicals, and any additional safety training you've received.
It's about showcasing that meticulous approach.
Mhm.
Showing you're not just aware of the rules, but that you truly value safety as
Exactly.
a top priority.
And you can even tie this back to the empathy aspect. You could say something like, ensuring a safe working environment is not only crucial for my well-being and that of my colleagues, but it also demonstrates respect for the deceased and their families.
Oh, that's nice. It brings it full circle.
Right.
Okay, moving on to question 5. How do you handle difficult or emotional situations when working with families? This one's all about those soft skills that the career guide keeps emphasizing.
It is, and again, the guide suggests sharing a specific anecdote. Did you ever have to console a distraught family member?
Yes.
Explain how you approached the situation with empathy and professionalism, maybe offering a comforting word or just simply listening attentively.
It's about showing, not telling.
Exactly.
And this is where I think RoleCatcher's AI can be so helpful because it can actually analyze your tone of voice and body language in those video practice sessions,
Oh, wow.
helping you to really project confidence and compassion
That's amazing.
in those sensitive interactions, right?
Right. And remember, you can always follow up with a question like, what resources or support systems does this funeral home provide for families during the grieving process?
Mhm.
This shows your commitment to providing holistic care, and understanding the broader needs of the families you'll be serving.
Absolutely. Okay, question 6. Can you describe your experience with different embalming techniques? This is where your technical knowledge really comes into play.
It does, and it's a chance to showcase any specialized skills or training. You have the career guide mentions restorative art techniques. So if you have experience in that area, definitely highlight it. Talk about how you approach restoring features using artistry to create a natural and peaceful appearance for the deceased.
Even if you're newer to the field, you can still demonstrate a willingness to learn.
Right. You can mention specific techniques you're interested in exploring. Further shows that you're eager to expand your skill set.
And those follow-up questions.
Yeah, don't forget those.
So important. So you could ask something like, what are some of the unique embalming challenges you've encountered here? And how have you adapted your techniques to address them?
Perfect.
Shows you're thinking critically and ready to tackle those complexities.
Absolutely.
Question 7. How do you stay up to date with the latest trends and techniques in embalming? It's not enough to just say, I read articles.
Right. You got to showcase that proactive approach to learning.
So what are some better ways to answer this one?
Well, the career guide mentions specific publications like the Director and Mortuary Management. Familiarize yourself with those.
Okay.
You can also talk about attending industry conferences, participating in workshops, or even pursuing advanced certifications.
So it's all about demonstrating that commitment to ongoing education and professional growth.
Exactly. And a great follow-up question here could be, are there any professional development opportunities that are particularly encouraged or supported within this funeral home?
Oh, that shows you're eager to invest in your growth and align with their values.
Right.
All right, question 8 shifts back to the personal side. Why do you believe you are a good fit for this funeral home?
This is where you really connect your skills and values to their specific mission and culture.
So do your research beforehand.
Yes, definitely.
What are their core values? What sets them apart?
Exactly. Maybe they emphasize personalized services or have a strong commitment to community outreach. Highlight how your own beliefs and experiences align with their philosophy.
You could even draw parallels between your past experiences and the funeral home's values.
Absolutely.
Like, let's say they prioritize compassionate care and you've volunteered at a hospice.
Perfect example. You can connect those experiences by saying something like, my time volunteering at a hospice instilled in me a deep sense of compassion and respect for individuals facing end-of-life care values that I see reflected in this funeral home's mission.
Ooh, that's powerful.
It shows a genuine connection.
And remember, a great follow-up question here
Always.
could be something like, what are some of the traditions or practices that make this funeral home unique?
Good one.
Shows you're genuinely interested in their approach and eager to learn more about their specific culture.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, but we're not done yet. The RoleCatcher Career Guide also highlights the importance of understanding the broader landscape of the funeral industry.
It does, and this ties into the next question, which is often a curveball for a lot of candidates.
Uh-oh.
How do you see the role of the embalmer evolving in the future?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It might seem like a tricky question, but it's a chance to showcase your industry awareness and that forward-thinking mindset.
And the career guide actually touches on
He
this,
does.
mentioning the rising popularity of cremation and the growing demand for specialized services like restorative art.
Exactly.
Right.
So when answering this question, you can acknowledge those evolving trends, highlight your adaptability.
Okay.
You could say something like, while cremation rates are increasing, there will always be a need for embalming services, particularly for viewings and funerals. However, the role of the embalmer might shift to encompass a wider range of skills, from restorative art to the preparation of bodies for cremation. I'm eager to embrace these changes and continuously expand my expertise to meet the evolving needs of the industry and the families we serve.
That's a fantastic way to demonstrate that proactive and adaptable mindset.
Right.
Shows you're not just focused on the present,
No.
you're thinking about the future of the profession.
Absolutely.
And you can even tie it back to your commitment to ongoing education, which we talked about earlier.
Definitely reiterate that dedication to staying current with industry trends and expanding your skill set to meet the evolving needs of the profession.
And a great follow-up question here could be, what are some of the emerging trends or technologies that you see impacting the funeral industry in the coming years?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Shows your genuine interest in the future of the field,
Yes,
your desire to stay ahead of the curve.
absolutely.
All right, we're nearing the end of our interview prep deep dive, but before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, RoleCatcher's AI. How can it actually help us tailor our answers and practice for these specific interview questions?
That's a great question, and the answer is in a lot of ways.
Okay.
RoleCatcher's AI can analyze specific job descriptions and suggest relevant keywords to incorporate into your responses,
Right.
ensuring you're speaking the employer's language.
So it's not just about having great answers, it's about making sure those answers resonate with the specific hiring manager.
Exactly. And the AI can even help you craft those follow-up questions we've been talking about. It can analyze the job description and the conversation so far to suggest insightful and relevant questions that demonstrate your engagement and curiosity.
So it's like having a personalized interview coach,
Right.
guiding you every step of the way.
Exactly.
Now, one feature that really stood out to me was the AI's ability to analyze video practice sessions. Why don't you tell us more about that?
Of course, RoleCatcher's Copilot AI takes practice to the next level. You can record yourself answering interview questions, and the AI provides feedback on your delivery, everything from your tone of voice and pacing to your body language and eye contact.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it.
It is, and that's crucial in any interview, but especially in a field like this where empathy and compassion are so important.
Absolutely. And the feedback is like incredibly specific.
It is.
It can point out areas where you might be coming across as too stiff or too casual, helping you strike that perfect balance of professionalism and warmth. All right, this has been an incredibly informative deep dive into the world of embalming interview prep. I feel like I've learned so much, not just about the questions themselves, but about the art of crafting compelling and authentic answers.
And remember, these are just tools and guidelines.
Right.
The most important thing is to be yourself. Showcase your genuine passion for this unique and meaningful profession and allow your personality to shine through.
Well said. Now I'm curious, what are some of the other career insights that the RoleCatcher Career Guide provides?
Oh, there are so many.
We focus heavily on interview prep, but I'm sure there's a wealth of information about the profession itself.
You're absolutely right. The Career Guide goes beyond interview tips and delves into the day-to-day realities of the job, the various career paths within the funeral industry, and even the philosophical and ethical considerations that come with working in this field.
That sounds fascinating.
It is.
Let's explore those insights in the next part of our deep dive. We'll shift our focus from interview prep to a broader exploration of the embalming profession itself, uncovering the nuances, the challenges, and the rewards that make this career path so unique.
All right, let's do it.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Okay, so we're back and ready to dive deeper into the world of embalming, this time focusing on the profession itself beyond just the interview.
Yeah, last time we were really laser focused on those interview questions.
Right, how to craft those perfect answers.
Exactly. But now it's time to zoom out and get a bigger picture of what this career really entails.
So let's crack open the RoleCatcher Career Guide again and see what insights it has to offer.
Yeah, because it's not all just formaldehyde and makeup, right?
Right. There's got to be more to it than
There's
that.
a whole world in there, like the history of embalming, different cultural practices, even ethical dilemmas that embalmers face.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued, especially that history part. I'm a bit of a history buff,
Well, the guide actually traces embalming all the way back to ancient Egypt,
Oh, wow.
where preserving bodies for the afterlife was like a central part of their beliefs.
Fascinating.
It even talks about how embalming techniques have evolved over centuries, from those simple mummification methods to the sophisticated procedures we see today.
That's really cool. It shows how this profession is rooted in centuries of tradition,
Yeah.
but it's also constantly adapting.
Right, exactly.
Speaking of adapting, what does the guide say about different cultural practices?
Mm.
I mean, that must play a huge role in how embalmers approach their work.
It does. And the guide really emphasizes the importance of cultural sensitivity and respecting those diverse religious and spiritual customs.
Yeah, because it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
No, not at all. For example, some cultures believe in washing and dressing the deceased themselves, while others have very specific rituals surrounding the handling of the body.
So embalmers need to be incredibly adaptable and respectful of those individual beliefs.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned ethical dilemmas earlier. What kind of challenges do embalmers face in that regard?
Well, the guide highlights situations where families might have conflicting wishes about how they want the deceased to be prepared,
Oh, wow.
or cases where the body has suffered severe trauma, which requires some really difficult decisions about how to restore a sense of dignity and peace.
That must be incredibly challenging, both technically and emotionally.
It is, and the guide really emphasizes the importance of clear communication with families,
Yeah.
explaining procedures, thoroughly addressing any concerns with sensitivity and empathy.
So it's not just about technical skills, it's about navigating those complex emotional situations
Right.
and making ethical decisions with compassion and understanding.
Exactly.
It's fascinating how this career blends so many different aspects.
Right.
Science, artistry, psychology, even a bit of philosophy.
It really does, and that brings us to another interesting section in the guide, career paths.
Okay.
Because it turns out embalmer isn't the only option within this field.
Oh, really? So what other paths are there?
Well, you could become a funeral director,
Oh.
overseeing the entire funeral process, including arrangements, embalming services, the whole thing.
Wow.
Or you could specialize in restorative art,
Oh, interesting.
becoming like a master at those reconstructive techniques.
So there's room for growth and specialization within the field.
Absolutely.
That's great to know, especially for someone just starting out.
And the guide even provides salary ranges for different roles,
Oh, that's helpful.
which can be really useful when you're considering your career trajectory. And it also lists relevant certifications,
Like what?
like the certified embalmer and certified funeral service practitioner,
Okay.
which can really boost your credentials and earning potential.
So much to explore. I mean, this RoleCatcher guide is like a treasure trove of information.
It is.
It not only helps you prepare for the interview, but it gives you this comprehensive overview of the profession itself,
It's a great resource
from its historical roots to its future possibilities.
for anyone considering a career in this field.
Absolutely.
Mm.
All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring the nuances of the embalming profession, those historical and ethical insights,
Yeah, and don't forget about those career paths.
right? And how technology, like RoleCatcher's AI, can really play a valuable role
For sure.
in both interview prep and career development.
Absolutely.
I'm walking away from this deep dive feeling informed, inspired, and maybe even a little bit more philosophical about life and death.
Me too. It's heavy stuff, but so important.
And for our listeners who are intrigued by this unique and often misunderstood profession,
Yeah.
I encourage you to explore those resources we've discussed today.
They're really valuable.
Absolutely. Now, what about you? Anything else you want to add before we wrap up this part?
Just remember that the world of funeral service is evolving,
Yeah.
and it's offering diverse career paths and opportunities for those with a passion for compassion, skill, and a touch of artistry.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Thanks for joining me on this fascinating deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep. Okay, so we've talked a lot about prepping for that embalmer interview, but let's kind of zoom out a little bit. What else does this RoleCatcher Career Guide tell us about the embalming profession itself?
Well, it's not all formaldehyde and makeup, The guide goes into some pretty fascinating stuff, like the history of embalming, different cultural practices around death, and even some of the ethical dilemmas embalmers can face.
Okay, you had me at history. I love that kind of stuff. What kind of historical insights did you find?
So it actually traces embalming all the way back to ancient Egypt, which I thought was fascinating.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like for them, preserving bodies for the afterlife was a huge part of their belief system.
Right, makes sense.
And it even talks about how those techniques have evolved over centuries, from like simple mummification to the more sophisticated procedures we use today.
So it really is a profession rooted in tradition.
Yeah, definitely. But it's also constantly evolving and adapting.
Speaking of adapting, what does the guide say about different cultural practices?
That's a big one. The guide really stresses how important it is for embalmers to be sensitive to different cultures and to respect the various religious and spiritual customs people have around death.
Yeah, because, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, is it?
No, not at all. For example, some cultures, they believe in washing and dressing the body themselves,
Wow.
while others have very specific rituals about how the body should be handled.
So embalmers need to be really adaptable and respectful of those individual beliefs.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned ethical dilemmas earlier. What kind of challenges do embalmers run into in that regard?
Well, sometimes families might have conflicting wishes about how they want their loved one prepared.
Oh, that's tough.
Or there might be cases where the body has been through severe trauma and you have to make difficult decisions about how to restore a sense of dignity and peace.
Wow, that must be incredibly challenging on so many levels.
It is both technically and emotionally. And the guide really emphasizes how important clear communication is with the families,
Yeah, for sure.
explaining the procedures thoroughly and addressing any concerns with empathy and understanding.
It's not just about the technical skills, it's about navigating those emotional situations as well. It's amazing how this career combines so many different things. Science, artistry, psychology, even a bit of philosophy.
Right. And that actually leads us to another interesting part of the guide. It talks about career paths.
Okay.
Because embalmer isn't the only job title in this field.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. What are some of the other options?
Well, you could become a funeral director.
Okay.
Oversee the whole funeral process from arrangements to the embalming to the services.
Wow.
Or you could specialize in restorative art, becoming like a master of reconstructive techniques.
So there's definitely room for growth and specialization within the field.
There is. And the guide even provides salary ranges for these different roles,
Oh, that's helpful.
which can be useful when you're figuring out your career goals. It also lists relevant certifications.
Okay, like what?
Like the certified embalmer or certified funeral service practitioner, things like that.
Okay.
They can boost your credentials and, of course, your earning potential.
This RoleCatcher guide is seriously impressive.
It is a really good resource.
It's not just interview prep. It's like a whole encyclopedia of the embalming profession.
From the history to the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from crafting those perfect interview answers to exploring the nuances of the embalming profession.
We really have even uncovered some surprising stuff.
Yeah, it's like those historical and ethical insights.
And there's different career paths.
Right, and we saw how technology, like RoleCatcher's AI, can play a really important role,
Definitely.
both in interview prep and throughout your career.
For sure.
I feel like I'm walking away from this deep dive not only informed, but also inspired, and maybe even a little bit more philosophical about life and death.
I get that. It's heavy stuff, but it makes you think.
It does.
Yeah.
And to our listeners who are intrigued by this unique and often misunderstood profession,
Yeah.
I really encourage you to check out those resources we've talked about.
You won't regret it.
All right, well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of embalming. Well, thank you for joining me.
It was my pleasure.
And for sharing all your expertise. And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.